Welcome back to this series on website creation. Now in this video, we'll be talking about hosting. In the previous one, we talked about domain. So we are on the second step of the website creation, if you remember from the basics of website creation. Now, if you're new to this channel, do consider subscribing as well as hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss out our videos. With that said, let's get going. Now, hosting in the simplest of the terms is the space on the internet where your files are stored. So in order for people to view your website, all the files which you have on your websites have to be stored somewhere. Now these files could be images, this could be text, this could be data, this could be videos, and so on and so forth. So whatever your files are and wherever they are hosted, that hosting space or that space where the files are stored is called hosting. You may have pages and images and text and data, and this needs to be stored somewhere. Now the storage space in a perfect world would be your PC, your laptop, your computer. However, the hosting service in general has a few constraints. So the constraints are as follows. The first constraint is, or the biggest constraint is the backup. So you have to have the power backup as well as the data backup 24/7. In no case can your laptop go to sleep or the power can be shut out. Also, there has to be sufficient bandwidth so that you can accommodate all the visitors which are trying to access the website which is stored on your computer. Now this seems simple, but when it comes to using your laptop for the same purpose, it is not feasible. And this is where the concept of having the website stored on your computer is completely in vain. Instead, what happens is that there are various companies which give you a small space on their servers. Now imagine server just like a computer. So companies have a lot of computers installed which are continuously backed up in terms of power and in terms of data, as well as they have a lot of bandwidth to accommodate all the visitors coming in. And you can rent out some space on their one of their computers rather. This is in general what hosting is all about. So imagine a scenario where people are trying to access your website. Say it is a domain name domain.com. A hosting service gives a central location for these devices to link to. Now all the websites are located centrally, which are backed up by power, which are data backed up, as well as which have a lot of bandwidth. So ultimately these devices can, in theory, directly communicate to this data server and retrieve your website, or rather view your website. Now there are typically three types of hosting. Now there are a lot more. There will be terms like WordPress hosting and cloud hosting and managed hosting and so on. But in general, let us talk about this in a broader sense. So in a broader sense, there are three kinds of hosting. The first one is called the shared hosting. And this is one which we will be most interested in as a beginner. How this works is that the computer which you have rented is also rented by a lot of users. So the resources, the CPU, the RAM, and so on is shared by a lot of websites. Now you may think that this is a bad thing, but once you are starting off with your websites, this is a pretty neat deal, especially because it is a lot cheaper. So shared hosting is the cheapest of all. It is beginner friendly and it is for low traffic websites. So if you are just starting out a business, shared hosting is the way to go. The next type of hosting is VPS hosting, which is also called virtual private server hosting. Now this is kind of the sweet spot between the worst and the best. This will give you some dedicated space on the server. However, the server in itself is still shared. So you have some space dedicated for you, but that space is the part of a bigger space. Since you have the dedicated space, you have greater control over it. But in order to use that control, you have to be advanced enough. So if you are an advanced user or a slightly advanced user with a medium to high traffic site, VPS hosting is for you. This of course is cheaper than dedicated hosting, but a lot expensive from the shared hosting. Last but not the least is the dedicated hosting. And as you can understand, this gives you dedicated servers. So the entire server space is for you. Now this is very expensive. And of course, this is for advanced users with high traffic websites. In our case, we are interested in shared hosting, and this is what we'll be using. Now, shared hosting in general will cost you about $3 to $10 a month. Now, this is very, very cheap considering how far dedicated servers go. But once you're starting out, this would be sufficient for you. Now, the cost again varies depending upon the number of websites you want to be hosted. Now, in order to get our hosting, we'll be using a service called bluehost.com. Now, this is one of the best services out there. You can do your own research and there are a multitude of options available. But having tried a few many, I find that Bluehost is the best of all. Now, this is their website. Don't worry about any of the links. All the links are in the description. You can simply go to the description down in the video and you can find the links out there. Once you are on bluehost.com, you can of course check out their website. But what we are interested is in hosting and shared hosting, or you can get it from here as well, or you can do it simply get started. There are various options available. Now, in my personal opinion, always go for the one that the site recommends. This is the choice plan. Now, this lets you host unlimited websites. Of course, all the constraints I've talked about, that is the limited traffic will exist. But once you're just starting out, this works good enough for you. Of course, you can start off with the basic if you just have to publish one website or host one website. Otherwise, in my opinion, always go for unlimited websites option, which is the choice plus plan. Now, this Bluehost is giving you SSD storage, which is going to be 20 times faster than the normal hard disk storage. And this is where Bluehost rises above all else. One other option which it gives you is the free SSL certificate. In case you are going to be creating an e-commerce website, this is going to be the perfect thing for you, because right now, if you do not have an SSL certificate installed on your website, you cannot take payments. This gives you the SSL certificates for free, which you'll otherwise have to purchase. There are many other good things about Bluehost, but these two are the ones which I find the best: the free SSL certificate and the SSD storage. So it gives you speed, it gives you security. All you have to do is select whichever option you prefer and go ahead and buy it. Now, if you're going through the link which I have shared, you can get one domain for free for 1 year. All you can do is find whatever domain you want. So in my previous video, I just searched for myhappylemons.com. And if I click on next, so as you can see, the domain myhappylemons.com is available. And in fact, you can also see that the hosting price is free. So for the first year, we get the domain for free. And this is a good thing and a bad thing. Now, although you are saving around $8 to $10 on this myhappylemons.com or whatever domain name you're going to buy. But in my honest opinion, it is always a good option to purchase your domain name from a separate website. Now, I recommend namecheap.com. It is primarily because once you start upgrading your website or your website starts gaining more traffic, you may want to switch hosting. And in that case, the domain will be parked at your hosting, which ultimately is not a very reasonable scenario. So it's better that your domains are parked at a single location and everything else is done from there. However, I'll leave that option on to you. Go ahead and select whatever plan you prefer and purchase that plan. And I'll see you on the next video where we'll be talking about the website builder software or WordPress. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. And if you did, do hit that like button. Also, if you're not already subscribed, do hit that subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.